Hello guys, welcome back. Now today, I'm going to be predicting every NHL team's next captain. Now captaincy in the NHL is a fairly gigantic deal, especially on a team-to-team basis. But which players do I see as the next NHL captains, and who do I see as every NHL team's next captain? Watch till the end to find out. Now, naming the next captain for every NHL team was certainly an interesting undertaking, and it can be very interesting because there's teams with no captain right now, teams with captains in their early 20s. For instance, you can have a team that has no captain, name a new captain in the next couple of months, or you can have a team like the Edmonton Oilers with Connor McDavid in his early 20s who might not have a captain or a new captain in like 10 or so years. So it can be that varied, and it makes it a lot more interesting. Now you guys already know, in these ranking videos we start to the Anaheim Ducks, going down the Winnipeg Jets in alphabetical order, and starting out these next captain rankings, I have first up the Anaheim Ducks, and for my next Ducks captain, I have Hampus Lindholm, defenseman at age 25, Swedish-born player, and when it comes to their captain right now, Ryan Getzlaf, he's past his prime, in his mid-30s now, so a new captain will likely come in the next few years, I would assume, and Hampus Lindholm seems like a good bet. He'll probably be around 26, 27 when Getzlaf does retire, or I guess give up the captaincy, but I think he's primed for that. He's a solid captain, has a lot of leadership too, even at age 25. Now moving on to my prediction for the next Arizona Coyotes captain, my pick is Clayton Keller. Right winger, age 21, American-born stud, which is always great to see. And when it comes to OAL, he was recently named the captain this past season. He's at age 29, so likely will be about a half a decade before a new captain is named. But once that time is there, I feel like Keller will be the guy. I don't think he's captain material yet, but in half a decade, I think he can do the job. Moving on to my prediction for the Boston Bruins' next captain, I have Patrice Bergeron. Center at age 34, Quebec-born as well. And when it comes to Bergeron and the Boston Bruins, this was one of the few slam dunk picks because to me it's pretty much an obvious choice. Zdeno Chara might have 2 years max in the NHL left, and Patrice Bergeron is still, right now, kind of in his prime. He's still playing fantastic. Again, at age 34, when Chara does retire, he'll likely be 35, 36, but even at that age, still will be great defensively and has a ton of leadership to offer for Boston. Moving on to my pick for the next Buffalo Sabres captain, I have Rasmus Dahlin. He's a defenseman at age 19, and when it comes to Buffalo, they were really hard to pick. Jack Eichel, their captain right now, is at age 22. I don't think that's changing anytime soon, so for me, it had to be some guy that was young, already in the organization and playing well, and that guy, it does fit the bill in Rasmus Dahlin. I don't know if that'll ever happen, really, but I think he's probably the most likely bet, at least after Jack Eichel. Moving on to my prediction for the Calgary Flames' next captain, I have Sean Monahan. Center at age 24, Ontario-born. Right now, Mark Giordano at age 35. We're not really sure how far he'll really decline in the next couple of years. Who really knows at this point? I think Matthew Tkachuk should be the captain. I think he is the perfect captain for Calgary. But right now, the way Calgary is headed, I think they really like Sean Monahan, and I think he will be their pick. Moving on to the Bungee Jerks' next captain, I have Jordan Staal. Center at age 30, Thunder Bay, Ontario-born, which is pretty unique. And when it comes to Jordan Staal, I think it's really in question if Justin Williams comes back. Right now, I think that's the most likely bet. I think he will still be the captain if he comes back. But after him, or if he does decide to retire, I think the next captain will be Jordan Staal. He's shown a ton of leadership abilities for Carolina, has been on that team for a long, long time now. I think when it comes to Jordan, he's shown all the leadership skills necessary, and he'll likely be the captain before Sebastian Aho. Now moving on to the next Chicago Blackhawks captain, I have Alex DeBrincat. Right winger, age 21, American-born. And when it comes to Chicago, I was having a really tough time deciding on them. I was going between Boquist or DeBrincat, and I think Doc might be that if he really does develop and progress well. But after Jonathan Toews, I think DeBrincat might be the guy there. He might not have a super long tenure as a captain, but I think he will be the next captain for Chicago. Moving on to the next Colorado Avalanche captain, I have Nathan MacKinnon. Center, age 23 from Halifax, Nova Scotia. And when it comes to Gabriel Landeskog, he's at age 26. I don't think he's going away anytime soon, but Nathan MacKinnon I think will be the next guy. Again, Gabriel Landeskog feels a lot older than he actually is, still in his mid-20s. But I think after him and after that whole saga, I think Nathan MacKinnon will be the guy, and likely a lot more mature and a lot more older. Now moving on to my pick for the Columbus Blue Jackets' next captain, I have Seth Jones. Defenseman at age 24 from Arlington, Texas. Love to see that. that. And you guys know I'm perfectly biased when it comes to Seth Jones. I want to see him be the captain. I think he will be the next pick. Foligno right now is in his early 30s, so it might take a few years for him to get that captaincy. But once Foligno is done with Columbus, I think Seth Jones is the choice, and right now should be the obvious choice for Columbus. Moving on to my first favorite team, the Dallas Stars. For my next Stars captain, I have my boy John Klingberg. Now, when it comes to Dallas, I think there's a couple of candidates besides Klingberg that might make it. I've seen Sagan flown around there, and I don't think he's shown true leadership potential, at least not quite yet. He's a fun guy, and I love that about him, but I'm not sure if he's a leader or a captain, not quite yet. I also see Miro Heiskanen as a potential candidate there. By the time Jimmy Benn retires, he might be in his mid-20s and, of course, in his prime, so that could definitely work out. But I think John Klingberg will be in his late 20s, early 30s, and even at that point, he'll still have a beautiful jersey, and hopefully at that point we'll see a C right on this one. Moving on to my prediction for the next Detroit Red Wings captain, I have Dylan Larkin. Now, right now, Detroit hasn't had a captain in the last couple of years, but Dylan Larkin to me is the true choice, and if they choose anybody else, I really have lost faith in them. He's a center at age 23, an American. I feel like Dylan Larkin is at that point where he needs to take on some more leadership roles. In Detroit, Dylan Larkin is really the future. He's the present and the future for them, and I think the future captain for them as well. Moving on to my pick for the next Oilers captain, I guess I have Darnell Nurse. He's a defenseman at age 24, a Canadian. And picking the next captain for Edmonton is really a weird subject because Connor McDavid should be the captain there for a long time. But if he somehow gets traded or goes anywhere, I think Darnell Nurse will be the pick. Again, he's in his mid-20s right now in his prime, and playing pretty well, and has some leadership to boot too. Moving on to my pick for the next Florida Panthers captain, I have Aaron Ekblad, defenseman at age 23 from Windsor, Ontario. And when it comes to Florida, like Edmonton, they're a weird team to predict. I don't think Alexander Barkov is going anywhere, but if I had to choose one player, it would be Aaron Ekblad. Going into his mid-20s, he already has a ton of leadership and a ton of experience too. Moving on to my pick for the next LA Kings captain, I have Alex Turcotte, center at age 18. And I think this might confuse a few people here because some people might say that Drew Doughty should be the pick, but I feel like for the LA Kings, if they're going to give him the captaincy, I think it would have happened already. And I feel like for LA, they want to give that next forward the next captaincy, and Turcotte is the future of that franchise. Should have probably gone 3rd overall, went 5th overall to LA. By the time Kopitar was retired at like age 36, 37, I would feel like Turcotte would be in his prime in the NHL, being that second-line center at least skill-wise, and being the guy there in LA. And I feel like Kopitar will also want to give it to Turcotte and give him all the lessons that he's learned over the past few decades. Moving on to my pick for the next Minnesota Wild captain, I have Ryan Suter, defenseman at age 34, American born, which is always great to see. And when it comes to Minnesota, right now Mika Koivu is still the captain there at age 36. I feel like his heydays are kind of over. He'll likely retire in the next couple of years at the very most. I feel like the next guy there will be Ryan Suter. He is not young whatsoever, but he's been such an anchor for Minnesota since they signed him back in 2012. I think he will be the guy. Even with that insane contract, and even though he is older, I think he will be the next captain in many. Moving on to my next Montreal Canadiens captain, I have Brendan Gallagher, right winger, age 27, Canadian born. And when it comes to Montreal Canadiens, I think they should have named Brendan Gallagher the captain instead of Shea Weber. Shea Weber right now at age 33. It'll likely be a few years, probably I would say at least 3 until he does retire. But by the time that happens, I think Brendan Gallagher should be the obvious choice and should be the next captain. There's a couple other guys like Jesperi Kotkaniemi that could be ready, but Brendan Gallagher has been ready for a long time and should end up getting it. Moving on to my prediction for the next Nashville Predators captain, I have Ryan Johansson, a center at age 27, a Canadian-born player. And when it comes to the Nashville Predators, they have Roman Josi as their captain right now. At age 29, it likely will be at least half a decade before he really goes and retires or does anything like good with the captaincy. But Ryan Johansson, I think, might be the next choice there. Again, right now he's at age 27, still right now technically in his prime, and especially offensively, I think has a ton of leadership and does a ton for the Nashville Predators. Moving on to my next New Jersey Devils captain, I have Travis Zajac, center at age 34 from Manitoba, Winnipeg. And when it comes to the New Jersey Devils, they love to make these old veteran guys their leaders and captains. We saw that recently with Andy Green. I think this will be the next step, having Travis Zajac as the captain. He had a little bit of a resurgence year offensively the last year, but still is not that great. To me, it should be Taylor Hall, but I think they will go for Travis Zajac. Moving on to my next New York Islanders captain, I have Matthew Barzal, center at age 22, a Canadian. And when it comes to the Islanders, right now they have Anders Lee as their captain. He just re-signed in NY this past offseason, so it will be quite a while, I think, before the Islanders do make a new captain for their franchise. But I think if they do, it will be Matthew Barzal. Again, at age 22, he likely will be in his mid or, I guess, late 20s before it actually happens. But at that point, Barzal, I think, will be captain material and will be the next captain for the Islanders. Moving on to the New York Rangers, and my prediction for their next captain, I have Mika Zibanejad, center at age 26, Swedish-born stud. And when it comes to Zibanejad, he might not be the captain this next season. It might take maybe a year or two for them to actually name a captain, but I think their guy will be Zibanejad. With a team that's so young and so skilled, I think Zibanejad really resembles that, and right now is in the prime of his career. Moving on to the Ottawa Senators and their next captain, I think it will be Brady Tkachuk, left winger, age 19, from Scottsdale, Arizona. And when it comes to Ottawa, I think they'll take a couple of years to name a captain. That's why I'm picking Brady Tkachuk over Thomas Chabot, even though it is really, really close, because I think they will make a couple of years of wait to get that over and done with. And by the time that happens, Tkachuk will be more mature, a lot better of an NHL player overall, and still very, very skilled. And again, he has so much effort. Really, obviously, he's invested in the Ottawa Senators franchise, and for any player that's invested, you might as well give them some credit at that. Now moving on to the Philadelphia Flyers and their next potential captain, I see it being Sean Couturier, center age 26, Canadian as well. And when it comes to Couturier and the Flyers, right now Giroux is the captain. He is in his early 30s, so it might take a couple of years for Philadelphia to name a new captain, but Couturier, I see, is the obvious choice. Has a ton of leadership, a ton of defensibility, and right now is one of the best centers in the NHL. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Penguins' next captain, it's kind of hard to imagine, but I think it might be Jake Guentzel, a center at age 24, from America as well, which is always a nice plus. And when it comes to Pittsburgh, it's really a hard team to really gauge because obviously Sidney Crosby, the captain there, he might not retire for a long time. He could age very, very well too. But by the time that happens, Jake Guentzel might be the next guy. Who knows how he progresses or how he does without Sidney Crosby, but honestly in Pittsburgh in general, you don't have any top prospects really that are really amazing right now. But I think in general, Jake Guentzel will be the guy, even if it might not be the most realistic option. Now moving on to my fifth favorite team, the San Jose Sharks. And for my next Sharks captain, I have one of my boys, Logan Couture, center age 30, Canadian. And when it comes to the San Jose Sharks, right now they have no captain. Joe Pavelski, their former captain, going to the Dallas Stars. I think this next season they will name a new one. And Logan Couture, I think, is the pick and should be the pick for the San Jose Sharks. He's been on that team for so long, already is an assistant captain. I think will definitely transition well, as the San Jose Sharks will likely still be a good team. Moving on to the Stanley Cup champions, the St. Louis Blues, and for their next captain, I have Colton Parayko, defenseman age 26 from St. Albert, Alberta. And when it comes to Parayko, I think he will be the next guy there. He's a fantastic person off the ice, does so much for that community, and is also a pretty awesome hockey player too. Pietrangelo is at age 29, so it might take a few years for St. Louis to give him away the captaincy, especially after that Stanley Cup win. But I think Parayko will be the next guy. I was really tempted to pick Ryan O'Reilly, but at age 28, I'm not sure if he'll be the guy, at least in a few years' time. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Lightning's next future captain, I have Brayden Point, center at age 23 from Calgary, Alberta. And when it comes to Tampa, obviously Steven Stamkos is still the guy there, and likely will be for a few years' time. He's at age 29, so he's still relatively young when it comes to captains. But Brayden Point, to me, is the next leader for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't think it's Kucherov, I don't think it's anybody else. I think Brayden Point really does fit the mold, and already has such a winning culture around him. Being around Tampa Bay, though, makes it a lot more easy. Moving on to the Toronto Maple Leafs' next captain, a captain that I think will be named this next season, probably in the next couple of months. I have Austin Matthews, center at age 21 from California, USA as well. And I think it's between two guys, Austin Matthews and Morgan Rielly. And honestly, you could choose either or guy, and I can't really blame you whatsoever. But for me, Austin Matthews just barely gets that captaincy, and I think Toronto's already made their mind up on that. And Austin Matthews being the captain is seriously marketable. Morgan Rielly also as well, but Matthews is the guy on Toronto, at least when healthy. Moving on to another team that doesn't have a captain, at least not quite yet. Going to the Vancouver Canucks in their next captain, I have Bo Horvat, center at age 24 from London, Ontario. And when it comes to Horvat, I think he's the obvious pick for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't know why they pick anybody else on that team right now. Yes, Elias Pettersson is great, Brock Besser is fantastic, but Bo Horvat has tons of leadership abilities, is great defensively, and is very underrated offensively too. And right now, the main leader in the future and in the now for the Vancouver Canucks. Moving on to my third favorite team, the Vegas Golden Knights, and going to my Golden Knights captain, I have Mark Stone. Right winger, age 27 from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And when it comes to Vegas, for their first captain in their franchise history, I think it will eventually be Mark Stone. It might not be this next season, but I think the year after that will be the year they finally make him as. Again, he's more of a newer player on that team, but I think is that leadership captain quality guy. Bring that with Ottawa, bring that in a very short time with Vegas so far, and Shea Theodore would be my second choice, but right now I feel like Mark Stone should be the slam dunk choice for how just good of a player he is and the great leader he is too. Moving on to the Washington Capitals and their next potential captain, I have John Carlson, defenseman at age 29 from Massachusetts, USA. And when it comes to Alex Ovechkin being the captain there, I think it really does all depend on how far he goes, because if he goes to break the Gretzky record of goal scoring, I think a guy like Backstrom, who probably would have been the captain, might already be retired at that point. I feel like John Carlson will be the next guy there. He will be a little bit older, probably in his mid-30s, but still a relatively solid defenseman, even at that point. And moving on to the next captain for the Winnipeg Jets, and the last team we'll mention in today's video, I have Mark Scheifele, center at age 26 from Kitchener, Ontario. And when it comes to Blake Wheeler being the guy there, I think he will be the guy there for the next few years. I think he will probably retire in his mid-30s, and by that time, Mark Scheifele should still be a very solid NHL player. There's not a ton of leader guys that will be there in 5 or 6 years that I think will be that captain quality guy, but I think Mark Scheifele does fit that bill to the best of his abilities. When it comes to naming and deciding future captains, it's always just a dice toss, because nobody really knows when the captains right now will get stripped of their captaincy or retire. Nobody knows the teams that don't have a captain when they'll actually name one, and situations always do change. But that's exactly why you guys come into play. I need to hear your guys' thoughts down in those comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on my picks, what you agree with, what you disagree with, let me know. And of course, the big question on to you, which players do you think will be the next captains in the NHL? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my video on me picking every NHL team's most underrated player. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on my picks, what you agree with, and what you disagree with. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.